Welcome, people. I'm back from the Netherlands. As you have probably heard at this point, I got top 8 at the Netherlands, like Den Haag offline regional, um, playing Yamato. Um, but before we get into the deck list, I need to talk to you about a few things that happened on stream. To give you a better understanding on what was happening and why it might look like I'm like the most degenerate player in the world. At least that's how I felt rewatching this thing and living this situation. So, first things first. Before the first game of the top 16 starts against the Zoro dude, real nice dude. Like, we had a blast, right? Talking all the time. It was really fun. I wanted to grab a water, and you can see that on stream actually if you look carefully. Maybe even not so carefully. I get the water, and my mate, with whom I was there, in the morning told me, dude, the water here is so sparkly, be careful. I completely wet myself. Then I took it, I open it, and it spews like everywhere. Like my deck is wet, like the mat is wet, like the laptop is wet, like everything's wet, and we're live on cam. So what we're doing, we're like, Judge, dude, come here, get me like a towel or whatever. Dude gets over, gives me the towel, or gives me like whatever, something to clean up, and we look just like split decks, half my opponent, half me, and we just clean up everything. Like half of that apparently still happens on stream. Then the stream pauses for like a minute or two, and yeah, we have to get that mess out of the way. After that is cleaned up, we just put the deck together, place it, and just start playing, right? So that we can go. That is probably why there were some cards. If I remember it correctly, it was the 2k counter Stroisen and the 1k counter, like the 5-drop Yamato. Those two cards were upside down. But with my sleeves, that doesn't matter, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if they're upside down. I do understand the critique, though, that I could have placed them intentionally to like see the opening and know that these cards are coming. But honestly, if I have the Struzen or if I have the Yamato, in both games I went second. So I'm not gonna play the Yamato most likely. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, it was no cheating attempt. It was actually just real unfortunate random stuff happening on the scene because I'm like a little, I don't know, I'm a noob, right? I can't handle real life. So yeah, I made a mess, and that's why things started weird, looked weird. Then I beat him. I beat the guy. We get into the second game, and I do that weird play where I on 2 Dawn attack the opponent and he takes the life. I mean, maybe it was even good for him, right? I mean, it's law, and he had a pretty bricky hand. No real searchers other than the Nami that I blew off, and yeah, I think it was good for him that he took the blow, but obviously it was not my intention to do so. Yeah, and for that I will like definitely apologize to David as well, because in that moment we sat there and we didn't realize it. We just kept playing. Then the judge comes by and says, "Dude, the law player attacked in the first turn. Is that right?" And we're both like looking at him, and then like you get a in the second game or in the first game as well. I'm sitting here, my opponent's sitting here, and the judge is sitting here. So we are 3 people at our table. Like the judge is constantly watching, right? And he doesn't see that I attack. And neither does my opponent realize it's the first turn, and neither do I. So 3 people missing it. Then a second judge comes in, and the second judge tells us that the law attacked in the first turn. And I was like, no, wait, I have 4 life. He attacked me just now, and I only have a 1k counter. No, it doesn't matter. Like, it can't be. He could have never attacked. Like, we didn't even consider that it was the other way around, right? So, yeah. Sorry for that weird misplay, David, if you look in the video. But I mean, you still beat me easily. 2-0, so I guess it's cool. I think it's the only time that has ever happened. Pretty confident that it's the only time. Yeah, but it's still obviously a no-go, and it shouldn't happen by no means. So yeah, I'm really ashamed of that. That's stupid. Yeah, that's that. So I think that's all the things that have occurred that were a little bit off. I mean, I've spent quite a bit of time on the stream, right? But I think other than that, we're good. And yeah, in my defense, if I'm allowed to say that, it was my first time on stream and I was hella nervous, right? Like I was completely all over the place. So let's get into the deck. If you didn't enjoy that first part, I'll put the timer thingies in there so that you can skip it. All right. So obviously, first off, we have the Yamato, the new leader. Why do I play Yamato? I mean, if you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I'm playing yellow from time to time. Never really a whole lot, and mostly it's like the dual color black-yellow mom. I intended to play Lucci this time again. I have edited the deck a little bit. I've upgraded it. I wanted to play it, but then one day earlier, on Friday, I went to my local store and I bought the deck. I built it and I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to play this. And then I took my mate, we drove through the Netherlands, 6 hours, and then I played Yamato, and it worked. So there's nothing too in-depth that I can tell you about it, but what I can tell you about it is I was preparing to play against Whitebeard and Zoro, and I played against Whitebeard and Zoro a lot. Honestly, to be fair, it's mostly Zoro, and I think Zoro is the best matchup for this deck. So this time around, the meta read worked, I guess, and I got lucky with my matchups. Didn't play a single law until like the final like 8th place game, top 8 game. So yeah, I was really lucky with that because the law matchup is atrocious if I don't trigger any characters and I don't trigger the Thunderbolt. That's so important in the matchup. But other than that, Yamato just has really good matchups. And here comes the important part. Playing this deck has showed me one really big thing. One really big thing. Yamato, yellow, and obviously red, because they basically work pretty similar, are way too freaking easy. Seriously. I'm not even a yellow player. I don't know what I'm doing. I just pick up this thing, give me a 1k more on defense, and I just play it down. I didn't train any matchups except for Zoro a little bit. Like I played with my mate 5 games in the evening that played Zoro. And that's it. That's all the practice I had. The rest is just fundamentals. And why it works, it's because it's so easy. Like you have almost no decisions to make. And I will show you why. I will show exactly why you have almost no decisions to make. Come on, zoom in here. What's going on? Okay, first off, once you hit 2 lives, this leader becomes a 6k on defense, okay? Once a Don is attached. Oh yeah, someone was in the chat flaming me because I took the 5 hit from Zoro. That was because I had 2 lives, but I had no Don attached. Okay, rewatch the thing before you flame me. First things first. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 Struzen, 2k counter, 4 putting starter deck, 2k counter, for Sanji, 2k counter. Like these things, usually you don't play them, you just 2k counter, right? In the last game against the Law, I played one of those to kill a Nami because I thought I wanted to slow down the game a little bit, because my hand was totally like rip anyways, but yeah, it didn't work out. So yeah, usually you don't want to play those. The idea is not going down to 2 Dawn either, at 2 life either, as fast as possible. I never did that in not a single game. I counter what I can counter. Because if you go down to 2 lives, he will just start hitting with 8. and then suddenly you have to drop 2 cards every single turn, and then after like 3 hits you're still down, still out of cards. So it's not worth it. I think just countering one swing with 1 card early on is the best you can do, because the strategy that I am forcing with this deck is I play Pudding on 1 or 2, depending on if I go first or second. I will search, then I will play Pero Sparrow on 3 if I'm going first, almost every single time, because it's like just a good card, right? If it dies, it lets you search a Big Mom Pirates card, which is basically your win condition. So having 8 searches for your mom is just so good. Then we have the 3 dimes Yamato. This is if we're going first, then we can curve out, because the 5 Dawn 7k is just real good. Then we have to ended the curve, basically. We have the 4 times Big Mom. This card is so key, and it works just so well with the strategy that I just told you, that I'm not taking any lives, but at the same time I'm trying to apply pressure, right? You hit him first, you hit him in the first turn, he takes the life most likely. Maybe he does not, doesn't matter. You play the Pero Sparrow. Next time you hit twice for life, he takes at least 1 life. You play this. And then you hit for 3 life and for 7 and for 5, and he takes, right? And you just keep dropping off your 2Ks. So you're maybe at 1 or 2 cards, but you have all the 5 lives. And then you smack the Big Mom. Like, if you followed me, I've always been saying this card is shit, right? I really dislike the 7 cost Big Mom. And the reason for that is that the opponent always gets to choose what they want to do. And you have seen it in the law game, and also in, I think it's only in the law game. But in the law game, when we're both 1 health, because I only got this on 9, I never got this on curve in the law game, and I was already down to 1 life. If I play the mom, he just trashes his last life and finishes me, because he gets to decide what he wants to do. If I create a situation where I am so far ahead that he cannot allow himself, I mean so far ahead in terms of life, the board can be developed in a completely different way, it doesn't matter. If I have 4 lives or 5 lives and he has 1 or 2, he cannot afford to drop a life with a Big Mom. If he does, then next turn I can already pressure lethal, even though like he might have a full board, and because he will never be able to kill me. So I try to create a situation where I'm ahead in life so bad that he has to give me more life, which then results in me getting more card draw, in me being able to use my board to clear his board and still pressuring the life, right? Because if the next Big Mom comes after that, like he's still at a very same situation. His board is getting smaller. If he takes the life now, he will lose next turn, so he will give me another life, and I will keep stacking life. So that's basically how I won almost all of the games, just by being able to play aggressively early, build up board, clear his board, while my Big Moms do the rest, right? It's always something like this. To finish out the deck, we got 4 crackers. These are just insanely good if you trigger them, because they can like double attack. Also, if you have an opponent who is like really good and he just tries to rush you down harder than you could possibly ever defend, or if you have a brick in your hand, then you can slam this early or trigger it early and have it on the board to already start clearing the board without taking any of his life, because he's a 6 character all the time. So once I'm in this position where I'm at lower life anyways, then I won't even try to raise him anymore. I will just play around multiple crackers maybe, being on the board, being 6k buddies and swinging for his board, right? You attach 1 Dawn, you can 7 the Zoro, or I had an Ivankov in the second round that had like a board full of 7k units. So I just attach 1 Dawn to my 2 crackers, and I keep swinging for his board, and he has to drop 2 cards, and then he has no cards left, so I can just clear out with the rest of my units, and like he can't recover from that. That's basically the idea. And that Greg is just such a good card. Like, it's just such a good card. We play 4 times the Brûlée. This card is a little tricky. If your opponent has already committed attacks or Dawn, and you trigger that, it's just good. You just trigger it, and it can take a blow. If your opponent still has all the Dawn left to remove it, you just take it to hand. It's a 2k counter, basically, once you hit 2 lives. So that's good. And in the yellow matchup, it's just so really, really good because they can't really remove it, right? And then the spice of the deck, or the real OG, basically, the MVP, basically, is the 4-cost Rush Katakuri. This card has carried me so many games. If you go second, you basically reroll for this guy, like you mulligan. You want to Perona this guy or Perona Big Mom. But like having him on curve is so good because you can take the first hit and then you can smack him and he has rush and you get to look at your life like it's just completely overkill. This card is so freaking good. The thing with this card is the baddest matchup or the worst matchup that you could possibly play is the Law matchup. Or at least that's what I felt like. Because he can do what he wants. And David in the last game did that perfectly. He didn't even give me a chance to interact with any of his board. Which results in me playing stuff, nothing happening. He just builds up his board, then he shambles 1,000 times and beats me. Like, that's just the matchup, right? The only thing you could ever possibly do to interact with the board is the 4 times Thunderbolt that I'm playing. 2 Dawn, you trash a life card, and you can kill a 5-drop, basically block a law. Like, you need in the law matchup, you need to have one of those in the opponent's life, so that you realistically stand a chance. Or like you could technically also win the game if you trigger Cracker and Pyrospero relatively early on. But since he's over a 4 life leader, not even going second and playing Katakuri on curve would result in any like big advantage. I mean, it's still a 6k buddy, that's quite good, but it's not like an insanely huge advantage that you get from playing him on curve, unlike in every other matchup, right? So Law kind of has the number from the deck. So I was like, I was a little sad when I had to play Law because I knew it was very unfavorable for me. But at the same time, I was kind of happy because I did dodge Law until like the very last round. So I mean, I guess that's really good. For the last 8 cards, we're playing 4 times the new event. What's it even called? I don't even know. Nari Kabura Arrow. It's a 1 cost minus 3,000 to a unit once you have 2 life. This is basically 1/2 of Hell's Judgment, and I consider Hell's Judgment one of the best events in the game. So it's quite obvious that I would play this, right? Like, it's just so freaking good. And it has a trigger, the same trigger like Ikoku Sovereignty that I'm also playing 4 of. If you trigger this, you can trash 2 cards in order to give you another life, which is really good. If you happen to have 3 Parasparrows and a Cracker or a Katakuri in hand, or just like 4 Big Moms, and you can't play them anyways, then you could recycle the brick in order to draw yourself some a new life, right? So that kind of makes sense, or it made sense in my mind. These are just the dawns, so decks down. The thing or the strategy, as I said before, is basically tanking out the early lives, just countering out of those of the early swings. Then when he starts hitting bigger, or once you notice that like your hand is getting thinner, which is basically the point at which you start hitting a lot of 5k and 7k swings with your board. Like, once you do that and you still have 5 lives or 4 lives, there is a chance that he will switch aggro and attack those if you don't have like enough cards in hand, right? If I'm only running one card left in hand, and I have these big guys on the board, then there's a chance that he will just kill a Yamato, and I can't protect it, right? So I've got to make sure that I only block as long as it is necessary to win the game, right? Um, yeah, so that I can just, in case that he goes for the Yamato, counter out of that. That's really important. I think that's the only thing you really need to think about. Like I said, the deck is really intuitive. It's really easy. I just want to play Searcher, swing with them, let them die. If I don't have a mom yet, if I have a mom yet, I will protect him obviously. Get the big guy out if I can. Chain big mom if I can. If I can't, the game is obviously a little bit more difficult. Then Cracker can be a real good thing, or the Katakuri can be a real good carry. And then once you hit 2 lives, you just become Whitebeard, which means you completely negate Zoro's leader ability, because now he has to attach 2 Dawn to everything to attack, not 1 anymore, so the cards aren't completely broken. And then you just counter out with your 4 times 5,000, 4 times 3,000 event, and a bunch of 2k counters or 1k counters that you have that are 3k counters and 2k counters now, right? So that's basically the idea. Yeah, I think that's basically all I have to say about it. I mean, matchup wise, like the deck works really well against Zoro. You can go both first and second and easily win it. Like the deck's super flexible, right? You have a good curve on 1, we have a good curve on 2. I mean, on 2, you can always attach 1 Dawn to the leader, which is so good. Like Whitebeard, for example, you attach 1 Dawn, you can swing for 6, then you can play the Perospero and swing for 6. That's the first turn, basically. Then in the second one, you could play the Yamato, because you're on 6, and you could swing again. And then you could swing again, and you could play the Big Mom, so that he has 2 lives left, and he has to decide whether he gives 1 or he takes 1. He will probably give you 1 because he's on 2. So in his next turn, he will take, and he's at 1. And if he gives trash that away, he would already be at 0 on 9 Dawn, which he doesn't want to be. He just doesn't want to be in that situation. And you have a board full of minions, right? You have a 5, 7, and 8k unit on the board. So that usually results in a win if you can play it like that. If you go first, it's a little bit more difficult because that's just a Whitebeard problem, right? If I play the Perona into into Perospero, I cannot attack with my leader. If I play the Yamato, I cannot attack with my leader. So then I would need to play a 4-drop, preferably this guy, and hit with 6. But then on 7, I would be at the same problematic point where I could not attack with my leader again if I played a Big Mom, but I would probably still have to play the Big Mom. I would always play the Big Mom on curve, by the way, no matter what it is. If you have it on 7, you need to play it, because then you're almost... I don't want to say you guarantee to win, but it increases your chance of winning by 1,000,000 times, right? And if you have 2 of them in a row, that's almost a neck breaker, because 8,000 is just so difficult to remove. As you have seen in the stream, the games that I have lost are all the games where I couldn't play the Big Mom at 7 or 8. Because I didn't have it in hand, right? And I mean, that's the only problematic thing with the deck. You only have the Perona Searcher, and they need to kill a Perospero for you to get the Big Mom. If they don't clear it, then you can never search the Big Mom. So sometimes they let the Pero stay, the Perospero. You can kind of negate that if you played multiple copies of it, but in order to do that, you would need to have it, right? Because then the pressure is too big and they need to remove it. Yeah, but other than that, if they let them stay and you don't get the Big Mom, like the deck gets just really difficult to maneuver. Then you really have to play around Yamato and Katakuri and protecting them with your events and swinging big with leader and those 2. That's basically the idea. And like as I said, it's kind of easy to play. No weird mechanics that you need to be very mindful about. No no sick interactions, no shenanigans, no nothing. It's just you just play the vanilla, you just play out your curve, you just swing face, block out everything you can early on, and that's it. That's how I got top 8 by playing a deck that I've literally played one day. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can show you, I guess I can show you the Borsellino. Looks really good. I have 2 of those now. My goal is to go in the Kuzans. They look so good. I don't know. You can't really see how freaking good they look, but I think they are so gorgeous. Like they are so freaking good. I don't know what I'm going to play at Bielefeld yet. These are insane. Like the Sakazuki looks so ridiculously good, and I'm so tempted to go to Bielefeld and go top 8 and get me 2 more of those place in order to have the play set, and then I'm gonna flex super hard playing those. Yeah, which is obviously it's obviously a bad idea because these cards are worth way too much. But I'm feeling kind of tempted. Other than that, like if you are my greatest fan and you want to give me like $3,000 for a set of those or whatever, hit me up on it. Yeah. So that's my guide, my deck building. I don't think that I'm ever going to play Yamato again because it is not too interactive. Or I felt like I was cheating myself. I mean, it's still cool that it is off meta, and I mean the meta read. I'm kind of proud of that. That I recognized that Yamato is really good into Zoro, and I was able to pull it off multiple times. But at the same time, the deck isn't as it's not as skill intensive as I would love it to be, right? The Lucci feels so difficult, and I always was just so close to proving that I was a good player, and now I feel like I've cheated my way in there, playing Whitebeard, right? Because the playstyle is so similar. They have very similar strength. Obviously, the red cards are still like a lot better. Like the 4 Dawn 6k Rush Katakuri is pretty good, but it's nowhere near the 7 Dawn 7k Rush Ace that minus 3000 2 units, right? Like they are not comparable. It's similar, but it's not the same. Therefore, yeah, I probably shouldn't feel too bad about it. I mean, I did win with Yamato. That's something to be proud of. But yeah, next time you'll see me with a different deck. Pretty sure. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope I could give you a little insight on how this thing works. I don't know. I mean, people have been playing Yamato, right? I've been seeing like 5 or 6 people playing this deck, all a little different. Some people swear on the 8-cost Katakuri. I mean, a reason why I didn't play it is because I only have one. But also it's another brick card, and it is a very slow card. With 7 Dawn Big Mom, you can attach 1 Dawn to your leader. You can attach, and you still have 2 Dawn left if you play the Mom, right? 2 Dawn is 2 times the 1 drop event or 1 time the 2 drop event. So that's really good. But if you play Katakuri, then you are on 8. That means you attach a Dawn to your leader, you get a 6k swing, you bounce 1 Law maybe back to the top of the deck, and then you only have 1 Dawn left, which means you have to play the 1 drop event, or the 2 drop event is wasted, right? So if I were to play the Katakuri, I would definitely need to ditch the 2 drop events, because this would break me way too often, right? I really think the Katakuri can have its uses, but only in the Law and in the Dofi matchup, maybe. I think those are maybe the matchups that I would consider dangerous, or in which this card could help. But in the Zoro matchup, for example, it is pretty bad. I would suggest, I would consider the 8-cost category pretty useless. So you're weakening a matchup that you're already good in in order to help you out in a matchup that is almost a lost cause anyways. Nah, I'm not taking those. This deck is built to beat Zoro. This deck is built to beat Whitebeard, and it can beat both. You need to go second in the Whitebeard matchup. That's so important. Then it's definitely winnable. Go second, play Big Mom on curve. You got this. The Zoro matchup is just, you can go both first and second, but going second and playing the Katakuri first on 4 is just a good tempo play. I really enjoy that. But like I said, the deck is super flexible in that regard. You can win both ways pretty easily. You just want to play, you just want to get the Big Mom, right? That's your key, that's your win condition. And like other matchups, like Dofi can obviously high roll you a little bit because your biggest buddy is a 7k. So the idea is to thin out his hand by competing the board consistently and constantly, and then just play as many Big Moms as you have and hope that he has less Mihawks than you have Big Moms. If you have more Big Moms than he has Mihawks, then it should be pretty free. If that's not happening, then good luck to you. You done. Yeah. What's left? The matchups. I didn't talk about the matchups. So the matchups. The first game, I mean, the first games are always the most fun, right? Because you're playing the wild card decks. So the first game is Magellan. Dude got completely obliterated, but to be honest, I don't know how the matchup usually goes. He just didn't draw anything. Like no Hannibal on 1, no Sadie on 3, no Magellan on 5, and game was over in like 9 dawn or something. Then the second game was Ivankov. That was a little bit difficult, but I've had a good cracker trigger and yeah, kept just interacting with his board until he had nothing left to play. And then I like 2 double hits with cracker and finished the game, something like that. The third game was my first Zoro. I beat that. The fourth game was another Zoro. I beat that. The fifth game was Big Mom, Yellow Big Mom. Super easy matchup. Like Yamato beats yellow decks so bad. The reason for that, hear me out. The reason why Yamato beats yellow decks, you are usually, sorry, you're usually at around 3 or 2 lives when they hit 10 dawn. That's around about what's happening. Then they play the 10 drop. Like, I'm not interacting with the board. I'm not killing the Parasparrows. I'm not killing anything, okay? The 6k buddies, yeah, you can kill those. But the 5 drops, Cracker, Parasparrow, who cares? I don't care. So they're at like 1 life or no life. I am like on 2 or 3. I try to go second, obviously. If I don't, it doesn't matter because my curve's so good. They play 10 drop Mom, and they have a full board of 5Ks and the leader, and they cannot swing because you are 6K. So they waste a full turn 10 dawn to trash you 1 life, give themselves 1 life. That's it. Nothing happening in this anymore. Your board, all 6Ks. 7Ks, 8Ks. You 6k. They cannot do anything. So these cards just stand around. Next turn, you give yourself another dawn. You go for life, whatever. You keep yourself, maybe you play Brûlé. You keep yourself like 4 dawn open for your events. And then it's their turn again. You have 1 life, maybe 2 lives, depending on how it is, and a blocker. And they have a board full of nothing. Or they can play another Big Mom. If they play another Big Mom, it's the same thing again. They get a life, even though they have lost 2 lives probably, so they would be at around about 1. Or they attach a lot of Dawn and try to kill you. But you have a blocker, you have a full hand of counters and events. So they are not getting through. So they could try to interact with the board. Or they give up. And it just it just works, right? The tempo that you get simply from having that one Don protection, that 1k counter, there's a 6k life, is just enough to make that matchup very, very favorable for you. I'm sorry if I'm a little slow or a little dizzy today. Like I've literally gotten just home and I'm totally I'm totally tired. I'm super happy still that everything worked out and I won. But this is just me sharing my mind with you. Um, so yeah, fifth game was Big Mom. I won that. The sixth game was against Whitebeard on stream. He went second, so I had to go first. So it was already pretty rough. I didn't see my Big Mom on curve, and he played Luffy, Ace, Whitebeard. So yeah, that was kind of rough. Couldn't really do anything against that. And the dude went on and got top 16. Yeah. So I guess it's cool if I lost against a dude that went top 16. Then in the seventh game, I went Whitebeard again. This time I got second, and I completely obliterated him. That was the nicest dude of all time. Like it was so fun. The match was so fun. We were constantly playing around and like making jokes. And I'm playing Big Mom, and I'm saying like, you should probably give me that life. And he's playing Ace, and he's like killing my stuff. And he's like saying, just let it go. Come on, just let it go. I was like, it was really fun. I really enjoyed playing with that dude. Yeah, I beat that, and then in the eighth game, and I was like sweating so hard. And I got another Zoro. It is actually the Zoro that won the whole tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Jacko something, whatever. He played the weirdest version. I have never seen that, or I have not seen it recently. He played that weird Zoro version with the 4-cost Blackbeard. And he kept constantly recycling his hand, and he always had like 10 or 12 cards in hand. Yeah, and I lost that. So I was pretty confident that I will not make top 16 with 6-2. But since I've only lost against two people that were both fourth and... No, what were they? 6 and 7 or something like that. It was just enough to slide in with top 13. So yeah, I was really lucky there. And then I went against the Zoro on stream that you have probably all seen, that I completely slaughtered. Because I mean, I rolled him so bad. But that's like, if you really want to see how this deck, like what the peak of this deck looks like, then you can basically watch this game, because in this game against the Zoro, I had everything, right? The one drop Perona, I think, into... Oh, he went second both games into the Rush Katakuri, into... A one-time like double Sparrow into Big Mom even, I think. I won in one game. I played 3 of them. In one I only needed 1 or 2. I don't even know. But yeah, that's just what the deck can do if everything works out, right? Then you see the last match that I've played against the Law, where I didn't do anything. And even with that weird cheater move that maybe even helped him out more than it helped out me. I couldn't just do anything because I couldn't develop enough board, and I couldn't clear out his big guys with my triggers, and I couldn't develop big moms because I didn't draw them. So yeah, so you can see a high roll in the Zoro deck and a low roll in the Law deck. And honestly, you can low roll win matchups without the big mom, but you cannot low roll matchups against Law. Like, you just really need to have everything you want against the Law in order to win that matchup. Yeah. But other than that, the deck's just solid. It has good matchups all around the board, especially like yellow matchups, and the Zoro matchup is just really good. So yeah, if you're confident that you will have a lot of those, go for it. Other than that, this shows us always play some new stuff. Never give up hope. There's always a way, right? There's always a way. We can beat the meta. We can make the top cut after hitting X3 so many times. yeah, I'm just really happy with what we have right now. And I try to make the playset, the Admiral playset, complete at the next one. I think it's 9th of September or 19th. That doesn't even make sense. If 9th is a... Well, let me check. Bielefeld. It's Bielefeld, and it's on either 9 or 16, but I'm thinking 9. Which means if I meet any of you on the 9th of September, hit me up. It's Germany, so probably a lot of people from the Netherlands, Germany, and Italy are going to be there. So it's probably going to be just the same people that I've met just now. So I'm looking forward to this because I really like you people. See you around.